I just wanted to say a very brief comment because I understand the situation in Africa and I understand that you don't have high tech, but I think that what you are making us learn is that you are using technology efficiently. So when we are going to face problems like the economic crisis right now, we can learn from you some examples. So I think, just to make a banal example, I will give the example of all the projects that run in Africa with simple text messages in very basic mobile phones. This is a sort of social media. It isn't the technology. We don't need the shiny technology. We need to communicate. Technology is just the means to achieve our goal. Thank you.
Right, so I'll keep this brief because I think time's running on. Look, so I was invited to speak today about ethics. I'm Solomon Begg, I'm a GP from London. Now, a lot of the examples discussed today just make the point about how important social media is. And so I think you're probably going to expect me to be talking something like this. I think Harris has mentioned this already, about how things have moved on in his life as a GP, that 30 years ago you used to be in the village, you used to be discussing everything, and social media is an extension of that. Now, we've talked about that so much, I'm actually going to just bring it back to current day. But before I get there, I'll just remind everybody in terms of how we got here, and what the next challenge is, and then then I'm going to give everybody a challenge, and then a request at the end of that. So pay attention. Okay. So quickly, we've talked about this already in terms of the social media guidelines and the GMT guidelines in the UK. They're available online. I think Harris has talked about it. Have a look. There we go. Now, also, just a quick point about that. We've also talked about the privacy and the public settings, and to be aware. And if you don't take anything away from today, that's really important. Right. Okay. How we got here? Okay. 1964. There's a chap, Intel chair Moore. He said that the number of circuits would double every 2 years. He got it wrong. It's every 18 months. And this is how we've progressed. Now, back here, that's when I started getting interested in the internet, and I taught myself websites, and back in 2000, I think I was doing some other things like other Flash programming. All that's gone old now. Now it's social media, everything is so easy to use, you don't need to know how to do that. One tip I'll say before I go on this, how I keep myself updated to information now is I just type my question into YouTube, and if you don't mind your ego being blowed by a 14-year-old child telling you the answer, you'll know within 5-10 minutes. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now some examples about where we are in the last 20 years. I wonder how many of us actually remember this. I wrote my dissertation on one of these. And writing a whole page and getting a spelling mistake and having to write the page again, yes, you've got tip X, immensely frustrating. I used to dream of something like this, okay? And now we've got this. And it's going on and on. We don't know what's going to happen next. Now, another example in terms of how things are changing. This is what I'm saying. We're talking about where we are in 2013. We don't know what it's going to be in 5 years' time, but this is the beginning. And unless you stay on board, you won't get the next bit. Okay, now, when I was a child, I used to watch Star Trek. And there was this amazing device. You could talk to people using that. And then nowadays, we've got this. It's not science fiction anymore. Next one of Star Trek was this one. And he was talking with something like that. It's like, okay, we're getting there. And in this program, you also had this chap as well. And he was using this. He was blind. I'll come back to that in a moment. In terms of where we are now, in the next couple of years, we've got this coming along. Yeah, this is something called Google Glass. I'm not doing an advert for this. But the way this works is, instead of having to use your phone or your computer, you can just look here. The process is there. Everything's in the cloud. This is an example. This is what they give, that he's able to do social media while parachuting. Practically, for me, I'd probably be more interested in having a map walking through the streets of Prague, which, I mean, this time it's been amazing that I haven't got lost because I had the map on this. And again, that wasn't there 5 years ago. Practically, it'll probably end up being something like this, but that's something else. Okay, I'll move on. Okay, look. This is from earlier, a couple of months ago. With Google Glasses, there was this is a patient's blog, and they're saying how this would be helpful for the blind. In terms of, with Google Glasses, it can do a lot of recognition. It can also do expression recognition as well. So this is for patients who are partially sighted, and it could tell them what's happening in the air with the instructions. Now, with this, because I've just showed you about Google Glasses, about it being able to record everything as well, if somebody was wearing this and came into my consultation room, would I say, look, actually take those off because you're going to record everything I'm doing and there might be something on my desk which is confidential and I don't want you to have a record of it? Or will I say, actually, this is the only way I can actually communicate with you? It's a no-brainer. I'm going to let them do what they have to do. Now, this is bringing it to relevant to modern day now. So this is the beginning of the challenge. Now, this chap, anybody know who he is? He's been in the news. Snowden, yeah. Now, he's been pursued by the US government because he's such a criminal thing that he said that the intelligence agencies are recording information from network backbones. Now, why that's relevant is in the UK, a lot of our computers are web-based now in terms of our healthcare record. Everything is on the spine, yeah? Now, this is just the UK. I know in different countries, it's the computers are working different ways, either the locally in the surgeries, but this is the way it's going in terms of the IT companies. And the reason I got this up here is that all the information flow is stored around here. And so, if you can think that if the intelligence agencies are using information at the moment for industry, at the same time, there's nothing stopping them from this as well. Now, that's the observation. Now, I've got a few other things I can say in terms of the background to this. But does anybody want to comment in terms of where we are in terms of WONCA and what we can, us as GPs gathered here right now, what we can suggest?
There's something that was pointed out yesterday in a workshop we did. There's something that was pointed out yesterday in a workshop that we were doing during the pre-conference to WONCA, which is what I'm part of, VBGM, where we were discussing social media as well, and where it was mentioned the issue about secrecy, privacy, where the patient's data goes, the different laws that exist on data protection in different countries. You were referring to the difference between, say, Europe and Australia, what Naomi was mentioning earlier on. There's also the issue that Solomon mentioned, which I wanted to bring him back into, that some of the patient's information is something that we regard as ours. It's not, at the end of the day, it's theirs. And it has to be discussed whether or not we have the right to be that fussy, in quotes, about it, under the auspices of the fact that if you look at certain websites that exist, certain forums and so on, people are prepared to put themselves on the net, literally undress themselves in front of others to explain to another co-patient with the same condition, look, this is me, this is what's happened, this is what I've been through. And they're prepared, on the other hand, to castigate us and flagellate us if they have to, because supposedly they think their doctors let out some information that shouldn't have been let out. So I want to just throw that on the table and see what's your opinion on that.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I'll just sum up quickly. I mean, what I'm saying is pretty controversial, but the point is this. We are GPs, and we are, in the UK, I'm responsible for my patient confidentiality, for the information I record. Now, if it means that there's a way that somebody else can access that information, I would want help from other people, some guidance, and that's what WONCA is brilliant at. Now, in the Human Rights Declaration, we're all aware of this. I'm just seeing the bit about the privacy. It says that, there's growing international consensus that patients have a fundamental right to privacy, to confidentiality of medical information. I mean, that was back over 60 years ago. But we need to make that clear in terms of, and we'll see where we can go with WONCA for that. Okay, so that was the challenge, and hopefully everybody can help with that.